What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm gonna get right to the point. This thing has a mid-drive motor, not a hub drive. This thing has cadence sensor and torque sensor, not just a cadence sensor. And this thing has hydraulic disc brakes, all for 2,000 bucks. Maybe a couple bucks less than that, but basically 2,000 bucks. Mid-drive, torque sensor, cadence sensor, hydraulic disc brakes. Seriously, that's a good deal. Let's take a closer look at this budget mid-drive e-bike. All right, so normally I try not to do commuter bikes and street bikes, but this one is kind of a hybrid, and it caught my attention because this thing has a mid-drive. And if you don't know, mid-drive bikes are usually $500 to $1,000 more than any of the hub drive bikes. But this one is priced at 2,000 bucks, and it has a mid-drive, which blew my mind. I'm like, what? No one out there is offering a mid-drive e-bike for 2,000 bucks. Nobody, not that I can think of. And so I just wanted to share that with you guys, because I know a lot of you guys out there are interested in e-bikes and you don't know which one to get. I know the hub drives are attractive because they're inexpensive for the most part. About $800 to $1,500 is what I've been seeing as far as entry level up to higher end. But this one, like I said, mid-drive, torque sensor, hydraulic disc brakes, 2,000 bucks. I just had to share this with you guys. So this is from a company called Avadar, which it says right there on the frame. They're a relatively new company, and they reached out to me and said, hey, we like your YouTube channel. We know you like e-bikes, so can we send one out to you for review? I said, sure, as long as I can be honest, and they sent one out. So I've been riding this now for a couple weeks, and at first I was like, you know what, this is just a hardtail e-bike like any other hardtail e-bike. But then when I started peeling away the layers of the onion, I was like, this thing is really nice. Like, this thing really impressed me, and I'm not being paid to tell you guys that. I'm being honest. This thing really impressed me. First off, the build quality by itself is nice. The welds on the frame, this is an aluminum frame with a hardtail. The hardtail is partly why it isn't so expensive, because you don't have a suspension in the back moving up and down. But in the grand scheme of bicycles in general, not even just e-bikes, hardtails are very good bikes. They're reliable, they're rugged, they usually don't bend or crack, and they do the job. They get you from where you got A to B, where you got to go, if you're using it for work or commuting or for school. And for fun, riding around on, you know, gravel trails like this, up in the hills around town in my neighborhood, you don't really need full suspension unless you're just, I don't know, bombing down mountains, which this bike is not made for bombing down mountains. That's a whole nother category. This is a more general purpose, urban exploring type bike, or you could use it at a campsite too. They also have the mounting points for a cargo rack on the back, as you can see there. You have 1, 2, 3 on this side and 3 on the other side. So you can put a nice solid rack back there if you want to carry books, groceries, whatever. If you're going to use this for school or work, which is nice. Hardtails do really good with cargo because it's so rigid. You can pack that thing with probably 50 pounds worth of gear back there if you really wanted to. It's also easier to put like a trailer as well, because of the rigid frame in the back, and it'll pull a trailer a lot easier than a suspension bike as well. And then the heart of the bike, I said this many times before in my reviews, the heart of the bike is the motor and the battery. So the motor is a mid-drive motor, and it's not like any other mid-drive I've ever seen before. Usually the mid-drives have a motor with a bunch of different cogs to do the gear ratio reduction, and this doesn't have that for the most part. I mean, I'm sure there's a planetary gear in here that does amplify the torque of the motor in here, but it's very compact, and there's probably a set of planetary gears in here, I'm guessing, if I had to open this up. It says not to open it up, or else I would look in there, because I'm very curious. Never seen a motor like that before. This kind of motor here looks to be similar to what would normally be in a hub motor with the planetary gears, but they just moved it to the front here. This motor, by the way, if you're wondering, it's a 250 watt motor in here, and it is proprietary to Avadar. It's not like it's made by someone else. This is a motor that they make. I contacted them and talked to them, and I wanted to get the info on it, and they said, yeah, they make this motor. As far as I know, that's what they said. But it's 250 watts, which has its pros and cons. 250 watts is a smaller, less powerful motor, but it's still a very good motor because, for one, it's a world motor. You can have 250 watts anywhere in the US and all over Europe as well. So that's probably one of the reasons why they went with 250, because it's accepted all over the world. But when you have a smaller, less powerful motor, you can compensate that by amplifying the motor with the gears in the back. So what they did was they provided you with a large chain ring and a smaller chain ring. So now you have flatland speed with the big one, and then hill climbing with the smaller one. This is technology that goes back 50 years. And they're bringing this back for this application, which is kind of nice. When you have a small motor, you got to think smart on how to use that power, so you amplify that power with gear ratios. Back here, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 speeds. That's a Shimano gear set in the back. Shimano Altus derailleur. So when you're climbing, you can drop it into the small gear, which I have it in now, and then put it into the large cassette in the back, and now you can really climb really well with just 250 watts. So don't discount 250 watts. It's actually surprisingly powerful for going up hills. Are you going to be a speed demon going up hills? No. But for just exploring the neighborhood like I'm doing here, up these little small hills, it is fantastic. I have to admit, it really does really well. So if you look right there, that is your speed sensor, and there is a magnet attached to these spokes over here. So essentially, that as that magnet passes that sensor, however fast it's passing that sensor, it'll tell the computer how fast the bike is going. Then the other part of the heart is going to be your battery. So it has an integrated battery pack. So this is a 36 volt system. So again, on the smaller end or the shorter end of the power spectrum, with a 10 amp hour battery. So it's not the biggest battery in the world, that is for sure. But again, this bike is super lightweight. It's about 55 pounds. So you have a smaller battery pack with a smaller motor, but on a 55-pound e-bike, you can ride this bike without the motor on, and it feels like a normal bike. Matter of fact, if you weren't paying any attention from this view here, this looks like a normal bike. You can't even tell it's an e-bike unless you get right up on it and you're like, oh, wait a minute, that's an e-bike. It doesn't even have a throttle, by the way. There's no throttle here, so it's all pedal assist. There's 5 levels, by the way, and we'll talk about that here in a second. These are all basic bicycle parts here that you can swap out on your own. So if you wanted to go with a SRAM Eagle gear set back there and go really big, you could do that with this. You really could. It's pretty cool. I like this. The range on this, by the way, they're saying it can go anywhere from 50 to 100 kilometers, which I think comes out to like, I don't know, 60. It's like 60 or 62 miles, which is very impressive for such a small battery pack. You know, when you have 10 amp hours with a 250 watt motor, usually that doesn't get you very far. But again, with the lightweight, depending on how light you are, and obviously you're pedaling assisting the whole time, there's no throttle, you're helping this little system here go pretty far. So if you just cruise along at a easy speed on flat surfaces, you can probably get to that 60 miles no problem with this thing, with help. Once the battery dies, you just ride it like a normal bike. Again, 55 pounds, it's like a normal bike. It's actually really impressive. I like it. So to charge the battery, you'll just open this weatherproof flap right there and plug the charger in there, and you can charge it on the bike, or you could actually remove the battery. There's a keyhole on this side here. You put a key in there. You have 2 keys it comes with. You don't need the keys to ride it and turn it on. You just put the key in there, it'll unlock it, and this battery will pop down, and you can actually plug the battery into the charger in your house. So either or, charge it on the bike or charge it in the house. Either way, you have the option. And then moving on to the wheel set, that's another thing too. The wheel set is 27.5. That's a modern wheel set. It's not, you know, old technology like the 26 wheel sets that you can hardly find parts anywhere. Nobody sells tubes or tires hardly for 26-inch wheels, not even Walmart. This is a 27.5, so it's bigger, a little bit better ability to roll over rocks and logs and stumps like that. So if you want to upgrade these wheels, you could always buy more modern high-tech wheels, and the 27-inch wheel sets will fit on this no problem, because that's a normal wheel set. That is not proprietary to e-bikes. It's just a regular bicycle wheel set. They do mount with quick release. It's not a through axle, so something to be aware of there. That's probably where they saved a little bit of money. Now the tires, I will say, could use improvement, but again, this is at $2,000. This is a commuter bike. It's not a mountain bike. I'm going to repeat that. This is not advertised as a mountain bike, even though it looks like a mountain bike. The tires pretty much show where this thing belongs. These tires have little knobbies. They're good enough for going across gravel roads, you know, grassy fields. That's about it. And then of course on asphalt, really good on the road and on asphalt. It provides very low rolling resistance, so you can get that long range. Could you swap these out for 27.5-inch knobby tires? Absolutely. I don't think these wheels are tubeless ready. I see Schrader valves there. So these are probably just your basic double-walled aluminum wheel sets. And then if you want to do tubeless, I don't know, you're gonna have to figure that out on your own. So the forks are branded Trama, and these are not air forks. These are spring and oil forks. And in the world of spring and oil forks, these look really nice. They're not the bottom of the barrel spring forks, because they do have some adjustments. As you can see here, you have adjustments for compression. So there is a little bit of adjustment as far as the performance of these things. I don't know the travel. And then I did say that this is an urban bike. This is not a mountain bike. So they provide you with an LED light, and I love the fact that it's wired into the battery. So if you're riding home from school or work and then the sun goes down, you have a safe way to get home. There is a little bit of a reflector there as well. It does not have a powered tail light, so I kind of wish it did. Matter of fact, I wish all e-bikes, if you're going to provide us with a powered headlight, please provide us with powered taillights as well. It just makes sense, right? And those little taillights don't really cost too much. It's just a light with a wire. But again, got to keep the price down. You can put an LED light back there with a battery if you want to. The headset here, the head tube, looks like it is tapered, and it does look like a true taper. I believe it is. I didn't take it apart to look, but it looks like you have a tapered headset. So that tells me that you can upgrade these forks to more modern air forks if you wanted to. If you want to go on Amazon and get a budget air fork, you could do that for 150 bucks. If you want to get the good stuff like Fox or RockShox or D&M, you can upgrade to that stuff later. So that's nice. Obviously it's threadless setup here, so it's a modern threadless setup. So you can swap all this stuff out if you wanted to. The bars are actually nice. They're pretty wide, and I like wider bars, so I'm glad they're not really narrow. The wider the bars, the more stability you have when you're throwing this bike around. It does come with lock-on grips, which is really cool. That metal clamp there and that metal clamp there keeps the grips from moving around, which is really nice. It does have trigger shifters here. Again, that's really nice too. I don't like those twist grip shifters. I don't like those. These feel a little bit more performance based. They're not super high end, but they do feel better than the twist grips. And then here's your derailleur for the front. So 2 speeds over here, 8 speeds over here. Again, like I said at the beginning, these have hydraulic disc brakes. Don't really see any branding. Let me see. Yeah, I don't see any branding on these hydraulic disc brakes. It says mineral oil, and they're just black with aluminum levers, and they are adjustable for length. But they work great. They are 2-piston hydraulic disc brakes. So if you don't know, usually the cheap bikes have mechanical disc brakes that have a lot of slop in them and don't stop you very well. Hydraulic disc brakes, 1 finger and it'll clamp on that disc nice and hard, so you can really get a really good feel from the bike with hydraulic disc brakes. I like that. So the disc rotors themselves are the smaller 160 millimeter rotors. Again, enough just to get the job done. Same thing in the back, those are 160s as well. You can always upgrade those to the bigger 203 millimeters if you wanted to later. Just get the right spacers for the actual pistons. And then lastly, here's the controller. So to turn it on, it's just a simple LCD controller. You hit the power button for a few seconds and it'll come on. I don't know if you guys can see that. There you go. Can you guys see that? So you have up here your percentage in actual percentage numbers, which is nice. It says 94%, as well as the battery bar. I like that. It has both. Miles per hour over here on the top left. Your pedal assist, it goes up to 5. If you want to go up to 5, you just hit the plus button. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. And then you can go back down to, actually you can go all the way down to 0 and have no pedal assist at all. Or you could just turn it off. It's kind of like an odometer. So it's pretty simple stuff. And it's color. That's nice. It's not just black and white. It's actually a color LCD screen. So it's pretty nice. And then if you want to go push this bike up a hill, see this hill here? If I just want to get off the bike and push it, you hold down the negative button and this thing will actually start pushing you up the hill. Just be aware which gear you're in, because if you're in a high gear, it'll push it up faster. And if you're in a low gear, it'll push it up slower. But that's pretty nice. The seat is adjustable. Pretty simple. Very soft. Very cushiony. And then, of course, the kickstand. Nice, big, beefy kickstand. Look at that. Holds up in the gravel nicely. Got that big old foot there. And it is spring-loaded. Again, as a commuter bike, that's a nice, big, beefy kickstand for a commuter bike. And it mounts right there. You can remove it if you don't want to run it. And it's also adjustable for height as well. So my riding impressions of this bike, I actually really like this bike. And I was very impressed with this bike. I was not expecting much from it because it is a hardtail and it is considered, you know, more of an entry-level budget bike. But as I was riding it around, I was like, well, this thing is actually pretty powerful for a 250, surprisingly powerful for a 250. Again, biggest selling points of this bike is that it's crazy lightweight. It's 55 pounds. Hopefully I got that right. But it's crazy light. You pick it up here on the frame, and look at that. One-handed, I can lift this bike up. Matter of fact, let me show you. The fact that this thing is only around 55 pounds is a huge selling point. So riding this bike, like I said, is a surprise. You know, I thought it was just going to be like any other bike, but it's not. The fact that it has a mid-drive with torque sensing really does give you a refined experience. You know, if it was just a cadence on its own, when you try to go to a technical turn or turn around somewhere and you hit the pedals and it starts turning, a cadence sensor will just turn on. And it's jarring because it just goes once it spins, you know, half a crank. with a torque sensor, it's like having bionic legs, you know, like there's a robot helping you. You push softly, it'll give you soft power. It's not jarring. You push hard, boom, it gives you full power. So again, it's like an extension of your body. There's no levers to push, no throttles to push. It's just your legs doing the work. Soft push, soft motor. Hard push, hard motor. It's kind of like thinking along with you to help you do what you got to do. And I like that. I get it. That's why it costs more money. But yeah, if you're looking for a really good commuter bike, or if you're looking for an urban type bike that kind of leans towards the mountain bike look, or a bike that can do both urban and go play out in the dirt a little bit, I think this is a fantastic option, especially if you're a fan of mid-drives with torque sensors and hydraulic disc brakes. Fantastic. All right, guys, if you want to buy this bike, go ahead and click the link below. I'll provide a link where you can buy this directly from Avadar. Again, it's about 2,000 bucks, and I think it's a fantastic deal if you're looking for a mid-drive with torque sensing and hydraulic disc brakes and 27-inch wheels. Pretty cool, right? All right, guys, hit that like button to support my channel. I appreciate it. It helps me out a lot. Ring the bell to be notified when I upload new videos, and leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about the Avadar C3 Sport. You think this is worth 2,000 bucks? Have you looked and seen what mid-drive bikes cost nowadays? Leave a comment below. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
Yeah, this is doing actually pretty good for the conditions. This is not made for these conditions, that's for sure. This is mostly a city bike, not a mountain bike. But as you can see, it actually does pretty good off-road. On the ice. Wow, these tires are actually holding up pretty good on the ice.